So with the second pick the Colts had in the draft, they drafted Ohio State edge rusher JT Tuimoloau. Wow, that took a while for me to really be able to say it right fluently. That was a tough name to get right. It just was. But JT is a really high upside pass rusher, and he is an immediate threat to Kwitty Paye's job on the edge there. JT is coming off Ohio State already being a really good run defender, already really good stopping the run. So he's already got that. I mean, he's not as good as Kwitty Paye. Kwitty Paye is really good against the run. His run defense is up there. It's really damn good. His pass rushing has had a lot to be left to desire. It's been very disappointing. Now JT, I'm not going to continue to try to say his name every single time, okay? It's a mouthful. I'll keep restarting the video. But JT has a lot of upside in his pass rushing ability. Now, I did get, some of my scouting reports from NFL Draft Buzz just to, kind of get a quick overview on what he's like. And he has great athleticism. There's a lot that goes into him. I mean, he's going to come off the edge. He's going to be a force off that edge. If he could develop his pass rushing skills and, get a little more moves there, I mean, he can be really strong. He's a freak athlete. Figures Chris Ballard always drafting those high RAS guys, but he's a freak athlete. 2 years ago, he had one of the most dominant college football seasons that I guess you could have for a defensive end. I mean, just absolutely dominant. Very, very strong season. And single-handedly put up, was responsible for 21 points against Penn State a couple years ago. I think that was Sean Clifford's last year. So, and then these last 2 years, he hasn't been able to recapture that same play, that same, those same heights or even get better. I mean, it is really difficult to have a better season after that, but this is an exciting pick. I mean, we don't know where Samson Ebukam is in his recovery. We don't know how well he's doing. I think he's over the 30 mark as well. He was really good the year prior to getting hurt last year. A lot of pressure, but Latu kind of stepped into that role. Wasn't as good as Samson Ebukam, but he was a rookie. I think Latu is going to take the next step this year. And then Kwitty Paye, like I said, this is an immediate threat to Kwitty Paye's job pretty quickly here. I mean, Kwitty Paye is one of the best versus the run. JT is really good against run as well. He's coming out. He's already really good, really polished against the run. It's just his pass rushing, hoping that he could develop some of those pass rushing moves a little bit. And if he could, he can absolutely be that other guy across from Latu. And then Kwitty Paye can maybe be, more of a rotational depth piece, or there might be another NFL team out there. I could see another NFL team paying big money to Kwitty Paye. I could. And I don't think the Colts are going to. So they're probably going to let Kwitty Paye walk after this year. I wouldn't be shocked one bit. But if you could retain him on a cheaper deal, more of a rotational kind of a deal, take him back. But I do think there's another NFL team that's going to think they could get what they want out of him, so they'll pay him more for the potential. So I could see Kwitty Paye going elsewhere. So JT, he's threatening that job, and I think he, maybe he's not going to be the future over there, but he's definitely going to give us some kind of hope over there where Kwitty Paye is, and that's exciting. He's going to be working against the more or less, the little less athletic tackles. You go to the right tackles compared to the left tackles. Right tackles are typically a little less athletic compared to the left tackles, so that can really benefit JT. Latu probably going to have him playing against the left tackles most of the time, and then JT have him on the right side, or depending on how you look at it, he's going to be facing the right tackle, which could be strong, which would be really good. And of course, you can move him around, as much as you need to, and then you have Buckner and Grove in the middle. We're just gonna see how JT can develop here. He's got to develop some of his pass rushing moves. Like I said, very athletic. So he's got the power, he's got the speed, he's got the twitchiness. He's got everything you want in a pass rusher that can, he can develop to be a Pro Bowl pass rusher in my opinion. Yeah, and then you have Latu on the other side, Latu and JT. I think we could have some really good pass rushers here, really good pair of pass rushers. How will Samson Ebukam be? I'm not too sure. Can he provide the same pressure he did prior to his Achilles tear? I'm not too sure. I would really hope so, because, I mean, he provided so much pressure the year prior, like a lot of pressure, like an ungodly amount. So, I mean, if we could have him in the rotation with Kwitty Paye and JT and Latu, this edge rushing room can be really good, and I know you could throw Tyquan Lewis on the outside a little bit here and there. We have a couple of guys that can, not just starters either. Like we have some waves of pass rushers, and it seems like the good NFL teams have waves of pass rushers, which just seems like what the Colts are trying to build here, which is awesome. Investing a lot into the defensive line, even though it hasn't always panned out. It seems like the best investment was DeForest Buckner when we traded for him. That I think it was a COVID year. That was the best investment we ever made, which wasn't a homegrown talent. Someone else developed that talent, which, maybe, if these guys, if Latu and JT don't work out, or, we're going to have to start looking elsewhere for some edge talent, because Chris Ballard cannot develop it, or whoever we have within the Colts, we're struggling to develop edge talent. But I think Lou's going to be able to do it. We have a new defensive coordinator, very different from Gus and Matt, so that could be a big reason why we struggle to develop. They haven't developed them well, whoever they had underneath them and all that. I think that JT being under Lou, I think that could be the big difference here. He could maybe be our Trey Hendrickson, or maybe that's Latu. We'll see. But I'm excited. I think JT was a really good pick in the second round here. I mean, that 1 year, a couple years ago, he was very dominant, struggled to recapture some of that. Hopefully he can, come to the NFL, look at it as, it's another, it's a change of scenery. It's more, I'm not saying he's not working hard, but it's more incentive to push even harder, which he may, he may find a way to recapture that in a way. And even if we get that kind of year for 1 year, we're going to love it, because we haven't had a dominant edge presence in a long time. We've had pressure off the edge. We've had some good years where we got a lot of sacks, a lot of pressure. I mean, heck, we were second in the league 1 year, but it still didn't feel like we were dominant, if that made sense. But I'm excited. Buckner, Grove in the middle, they're aging, so we're going to have to look for their replacement pretty soon. Next draft, it may need to be something we look into early, or we spend a lot of money in free agency. There are a couple different ways to do it. I would rather Chris Ballard go out of house if he's still the GM, because we haven't been able to develop our own for the most part. I mean, Grover Stewart, that's about it. I don't really think there's any other. I mean, we traded for Buckner. He wasn't homegrown, so we may need to continue to source defensive line help outside of the draft, because we struggle to do it in the draft. But that's okay. That's why you have many different ways to build a team. Chris Ballard used them. I love that he used it this year. Really helped us in the draft. Really, let him kind of look towards the future a little bit. We called him Band-Aid Ballard for a little while, because he wouldn't be preparing for the future. But how could you prepare for the future when you don't even have what you need now? You know what I mean? So the fact that he went into free agency, drafted. He signed a couple of big-time needs, a couple of big-time players for big-time needs. That helped to be able to prepare for the future now, too, which is very important. You want to get ahead of the ball. You want to get ahead of the 8 ball. You want to get ahead of the curve. And it seems like that's the way to do it. You address a couple of big needs in free agency, so then you're not scrambling like crazy in the draft. You could say, okay, we don't need this right now. This is solved for a couple of years, so we could go ahead and get ready for maybe Braden Smith's successor, maybe Kenny Moore's successor, and Justin Whaley. There are many different avenues you could go down. You could start to begin, instead of drafting for needs, draft the best player available, which I believe is the way to draft. Best player available is the best way to draft, because I believe you should fill your major needs in free agency or trade. I mean, you would have had to invest that first round or second round pick into a player in the draft anyways. On top of that, you do have to pay them, but do you really want a first round, or it's even asking a lot sometimes for an end of the first round or middle of the first round kind of guy to step in and suffice. And really right away, you're kind of like, okay, let's hope that you work out right away. And this was happening a lot with second, third, fourth round picks. So it's promising to see that Chris Ballard's philosophy is changing a little bit. And I love it. I love this philosophy. If he can do this kind of philosophy every single offseason, we will become a perennial contender. But that's a big if, Like Frank Reich said when he started working here, when he was a coach for the Colts. He said, and it sticks with me because it's so very true, and it's been the very case for the Colts. it's harder to go from good to great than it is to go from bad to good. That makes sense. That leap from good to great is the most difficult one. And we've seen that. The Colts have been good. They haven't been great. They've been maybe mediocre, good. They've been stuck in that range. There's a year here and there where they're just horrible. The Matt Ryan year. There are a couple years where we are just horrible. I think that's really the only really bad season on Chris Ballard's belt. The Jacoby Brissett year, we were 7-9, and I think it was the first year when Andrew Luck was hurt. I think that was like a 4-win season, but that was Andrew Luck when his shoulder injury still. So yeah, it's been that long. It's been that long since Chris Ballard has been GM, and we still haven't won a division. So we need to win a division soon, and I think this year is very possible if Daniel Jones starts. If Anthony Richardson is a starter, I don't think we really have a chance to win the division. If Daniel Jones starts, I think our chances to win the division dramatically go up. So, yeah, there's my quick little rant there on Chris Ballard's philosophy, how that has changed. So, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to like, subscribe, put that post notification bell on so you don't miss any future videos. Make sure to join the Discord, follow the X, follow the Instagram. Make sure to go and follow us on all that stuff, TikTok, everything. Good stuff on all those things. Discord is a good way to stay in touch with the community. So make sure you guys go do that. This is JDW Sports Network from our Horseshoe Hustle segment, our Colts segment, I guess you could call it. And I'll see you guys later. Thank you for tuning in.